Hang on. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 is considered to be the legal turning point for the rights of blacks in America. It prohibited all governments and all persons operating public accommodations from discriminating on the basis of race. But what you have a right to know is that in a pure constitutional sense, the adoption of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution in 1868, nearly 100 years earlier, marked the point where the government itself, state, local, or federal, could not legally discriminate on the basis of race and could not enforce racial discrimination by private persons. The Supreme Court has held that the whole purpose of the 14th Amendment is to remove race from the decision-making ability of governments. On paper, this was done. As we know, of course, racists in many state governments and in the federal government itself found numerous insidious ways around this. Many states enacted statutes which compelled the separation of the races in public and even in private under the guise that, though the races were separate, they were equal. Some presidents, like Woodrow Wilson, for example, were notorious racists. Wilson segregated the military and the federal civil service by race. It was not until the civil rights era of the 1950s and the 1960s that the government, largely prodded by the Supreme Court, realized that it was not following the 14th Amendment and new legislation was needed if blacks were to be truly free. Thanks to the civil rights freedom fighters of that era, most government today does not discriminate on the basis of race. Why? Did it take more than 125 years after the Civil War